Warzone's top 10 primary loadouts that you can use to get yourself more kills. And no, we're not just talking about random loadouts that you can use. These are the statistically fastest killing loadouts at all different ranges that I'm going to be showing you guys. Starting off with this Ram 7 build right here. This is the Ram that they have tried nerfing now like 2 or 3 times, and they seem to not be able to get it right for different reasons. And as you can see, is when you shoot this Ram and you just let the recoil go, it just goes up and slightly to the right. The recoil on this gun is still super manageable because those bullets are really tight. It's going to look something like this if you just pull down slightly to the left. It's going to be a very easy recoil control pattern. And then on top of that, it's going to have really good statistics. You can see from the stats on your screen, these are all the time to kill ranges when it comes to all of the guns that I'm about to be showing you guys. And it does look like a lot of different random lines. But when it comes to Fortune's Keep, you really want to have a good time to kill threshold for an assault rifle or a primary rifle from around about the 20 meters to the 45 meter fights. That's kind of your sweet spot when it comes to those Fortune's Keep gunfights, or if you're just a really aggressive big map player. And then of course, after the 45 meter range is kind of where you want to find the best big map weapons for yourself, because that's going to be very important as well. But we have the best statistically TTK loadouts for you guys coming at you, starting with this Ram right here. This is the exact loadout that I was using. And honestly, just talking about this Ram, this is one way to build it, but there is another way to build it, and it's going to look something like this. And if you notice, the only thing that really changed was this barrel. This barrel is going to give you a little bit more recoil control, but a little bit less effective damage range. Instead of being at 32, it is going to be 30, but you will have more recoil control. And for you guys who struggle with recoil, I recommend using this. And if you don't like iron sights, I would definitely use this barrel. I would take off this stock, and I would use the Jack glassless optic, so it looks a little bit like this. It's going to be a little bit more of a shorter range build, but it's going to help with recoil control. And on top of that, you're going to be making up for the recoil control you lose by losing with the stock, by using this barrel, and then adding an optic. So there's 3 different ways you can build the Ram. Let's move on to the next gun. And the next gun we're going to be talking about is the BP50. This thing has incredibly clear iron sights, very little recoil, kills really fast. And if you can see from the stats that I was showing you earlier, this thing has a very good long range threshold of the time to kill, and it kind of just keeps consistent throughout all of the damage ranges when you're actually using this weapon. So this is a good overall build. I would use it a little bit more on the small maps like Vondel and or Fortune's Keep. And the reason why is because this gun has really easy recoil control. You can see it just kind of goes up slightly to the right. So all you got to do is pull down slightly to the left. Very manageable recoil. It kills quick. It holds the threshold of the time that kills at a very far range, which I was just saying is not the best for keep. But this gun does only have 45 bullets in the magazine. So if you're not playing solos and you're playing anything other than solos, this gun can be a little bit difficult to use sometimes on the big map. But some people do like it as well, so you can definitely use this. This is a very versatile weapon. I have a lot of fun using this gun on both maps. The way I have this gun built right now is going to be the Fortune's Keep loadout. It's going to look like this. And with these attachments on it, it's a very good in-between gun when it comes to movement speed, strafe speed, and time to kill. If you don't like this kind of build and you don't like the iron sights, you just have to remove this stock. And the reason why I have this stock on, it actually gives you that aim walking speed and that strafe speed, plus a little bit of recoil control, which I do like a lot. But again, if you don't want something like that on it, you can definitely take this off. I like the Jack glassless optic, all because of the firing aim stability. This is the only precision dot sight that gives you firing aim stability other than this one right here, but this one does have a laser that is visible when you're aiming down sight. So that's why I've been choosing to go to the glassless optic for my optic. And if you use this gun too, if you want to just take a peep at what this looks like, very easy, very manageable recoil. A little bit harder of the recoil control without that stock, but still very good. It's a very clear dot sight too, so you can use something like this, which is going to help you out when you don't want to deal with those iron sights. So this is another way to build it. And then the last way I could build this gun for you guys, if you don't think the strafe speed's kind of your play style, but you don't really mind the iron sight, you can definitely use the heavy stock. And this heavy stock is just going to give you a lot more recoil control. You can see it's 16 across the board. This is going to help your recoil control so much, and it's just going to be easier overall to shoot. And just for a disclaimer, you're going to see a lot of the builds that I'm showing you guys don't have silencers on them. Some of them will, but you can always replace this flash hider with either the Cassis brake for more horizontal recoil, if that's more of your style. If you just think that you don't really care about the vertical recoil with this, the reason why I like the Zem is because this gives you a little bit of horizontal and a lot of vertical, so it kind of does both for most guns, depending on which gun you're using. But you can take off this flash hider for most of these builds, put on the Spirit Fire, and it's still going to be very good. So a silence build for this BP50 is going to be the suppressor and the heavy stock, because you're going to lose a little bit of recoil control when you're using the suppressor, since it's only 7 and 7, and you don't have firing aim stability with a suppressor, but that stock is going to make up for it as well. So this is a silencer kind of build for this gun too. This is overall a good gun on both maps. I prefer it a little bit more with the walking speed on Fortune's Keep, but hopefully these builds help you out. Let's move on to the next one. And here is the next build. This one actually does have a silencer on it. Funny enough that we were just talking about that, but this is the Holger 26, the LMG version. Now this is a weird one because it's very, very similar to the Holger 556, which is an AR that is also in the meta. They are similar. They both have a pretty good time to kills. The Holger 556 is a little bit stronger than the Holger 26 at those medium ranges, especially on those Fortune's Keep type gunfights. But you're also going to have to sacrifice an attachment to use for the magazine when you're using that assault rifle, which we'll get to soon. So I do like this gun overall. I think it's more of a user-friendly kind of weapon. I know a lot of you guys like having silencers on your guns. This one is super easy to have a silencer on. You can see right here with these attachments, you don't have to use a magazine because this is an LMG. It's going to have 60 rounds in the magazine already. So you can use something like this, which is going to be a very, very helpful stock when it comes to recoil control and everything that you need. And this recoil control on this gun is actually insane. It is going to be a very, very accurate weapon. If you just let it go, it just goes slightly up to the right, and then it starts kind of going straight up from there. That's with a silencer on it, by the way. That's going to show you just how good this gun is. It doesn't have a lot of visual shake. All you got to do is pull down slightly to the left, and you're going to have a very, very accurate weapon with a lot of bullets in the magazine. So if you do miss your shots, it's not going to hurt you that much. And then on top of that as well, it's going to have a good time to kill at almost all ranges. I like this gun a little bit more on the big map. It holds its time to kill range a little bit more than some of the assault rifles. It's a very accurate weapon, and it is silenced on that big map when you're playing that. It's very helpful. So that's one way to build this gun. And another way to build this gun is going to be this, which you can put on the compensator for, which is just going to help you with a little bit more vertical and horizontal recoil that we were just talking about. But you can also add high velocity to this gun, which is very, very nice because it's going to bring that bullet velocity almost up to 1,000. It's not going to hurt the effective damage range too much. Again, it's only 5%. It's not going to kill you. And if you're playing on the bigger map, this is going to help your longer range accuracy just by having those bullets not having to be led as much. Personally, I love having high velocity on the build if I have the choice, just because I don't like really having to like kind of pick out how far I have to lead on some of those gunfights. So another very good way to build this gun is this. And of course, if you don't like this compensator, you can always switch it for the Cassis break if you think you just struggle with horizontal recoil more. So that's two ways to build the Holger 26. Let's move on to the next gun. And that next gun is going to be the Holger 556. And this is my favorite way to build this weapon personally. This thing has basically no recoil. It has a red dot sight, which is always really nice. It's going to be a very clear shooting gun. Again, I think this is just hits a little bit harder than the Holger 26 at the medium range. It's still going to be a very good gun. Very, very, very controllable recoil. And on top of this too, it's just going to have a very mobile feel. It feels like an assault rifle, which is kind of rare with a lot of the setups that you get. The 40 bullets in the magazine can feel like it's low, but since it doesn't shoot super quick, it is actually still very doable for squads. I have had a lot of fun with this gun. This is one of my favorite weapons in the meta right now. And as you can see, again, we had it built like this, but there is a silencer build as well, and it's going to look something like this. And the only thing that changed is I just changed the compensator out for the Spirit Fire. And this is another way I really enjoy building this weapon, especially for Fortune's Keep. If you don't like coming up on the minimap when you are shooting your weapon, it just helps you just overall kind of stay down. And the gun has a very, very manageable recoil. And it's nice with the Spirit Fire sometimes too. It is underrated that it does buff your damage range just a little bit. So you get that extra 5% that doesn't hurt anybody. And again, it does help you recoil enough. And with the Jack glassless optic, I think the one thing that's really underrated when you see me build these guns now is that I used to not really be a big fan of using any precision dot and or a 2.5 scope for the most part, just because of the fact that the firing aim stability and all that stuff, you can just always have another attachment. I do think iron sight builds are still dominant. I'm not going to lie. I do like using iron sights a lot, but I know when I'm making these builds for you guys too, a lot of you guys don't like iron sights, and that's a whole nother conversation. We can get into it for another day. So if you want to have the best build when it comes to putting a optic on it, I definitely recommend trying this glassless optic. I think this has opened my eyes completely when it comes to using a silencer as well, because you don't have the firing aim stability when you use this silencer. But now, since you're not using something like a compensator that gives you that firing aim stability, you get it right back when you were using this dot sight. Again, I cannot express how important that really is. So that's two ways to build the Holger 556. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this so far. If you guys are, make sure you drop a like on this video. If this video hits 1,000 likes, we are going to also do the best statistical SMGs and all that stuff as well for the meta, and continuously give you the most information to help you guys get better at Call of Duty. Let's move on to the next gun. And the next gun is probably going to be the #1 gun in the game right now for both maps. Overall, you can see from the stats, this This thing is insane. It is the brand new weapon. It is a battle rifle. It is the SOA Subverter. This is my favorite build. And as I was just saying, that glassless optic is incredible. You can definitely make a build with that, and we'll get to that in a second. But this is my favorite iron sight build. Now, this gun has a little bit of weird horizontal recoil, so that's why I kind of tend to lean to use the Cassis brake. And that's also why I like using iron sights, because when you use iron sights, you get to use an extra attachment that is going to help you with recoil control and gun kick control. And when you're using a gun like this that has that weird horizontal recoil, I kind of just like to lean towards using that extra sight. This gun is incredible. It holds the damage range all the way until about 60 meters. It's insane at long range. It is the best big map assault rifle right now, but you can see from the stats too, this thing is incredible up close, medium range, and just overall, I think this is the #1 gun right now, because there's no range where this thing really gets beat other than the Ram 7 when it comes to that really close assault rifle range around the 30 meters. So again, the SOA Subverter is my #1 go-to right now. This is how I had it built. And when you shoot this gun in the firing range, you're going to see that the iron sights aren't really that bad. I actually kind of like these iron sights a lot, so I don't have an issue with this. And there's so many different things that you can do if you don't want to use that stock. And if you notice when you look at the bullet velocity, it's at 850. You can actually use high velocity here. So if you're someone that's really good at controlling recoil and you're a sweat and you're watching this video right now, you could take that off. You could throw on the ammunition of high velocity, which is going to help you get to about 1,000 on the bullet velocity, which is crazy. This gun's still going to be really strong at all ranges, and it's just going to be easier to hit your shot. So that's why I like iron sights, but if you don't like building it either of those ways, here's a build with the optic. And the only thing I changed is I took off that stock, I put on the glassless optic, and this thing is absolutely insane. Now, this is something that I use a little bit more on the Fortune's Keep style. I don't like to use the iron sights on Fortune's Keep, just because you're not really aiming from those longer ranges, so you can get away with kind of using this precision dot sight and obviously just kind of get those freer kills. Either way, no matter how you build this weapon, this thing is going to be one of the strongest guns that you can use. If you can hit your shots with this gun and find yourself a loadout, even if it's not one of the ones I just recommended, this is the gun that you should be trying to use. Overall, #1 gun in my opinion right now. I absolutely love this thing. Make sure you guys check it out. That's multiple ways to build it. I wouldn't recommend using a silencer on this gun just because the recoil can be a little bit brutal. So there's a couple ways to build that gun. And now let's move on to the next. Now this thing right here is going to be the SVA. It is going to be the burst version of it. If you see on the stats, this thing has a really, really good time to kill at the medium thresholds. It does hold its range for the most part, but just a very accurate weapon. If you are someone who struggles with recoil, definitely give this gun a try, because I'm about to show you why. But either way, you can use a silencer on it. You can use an optic on it. You can still use high grain ammunition on it to get that extra bullet velocity. And just overall, this gun is probably the #1 weapon when it comes to just being a user-friendly weapon. If you are not that good at recoil, it doesn't have that much recoil. If you don't like iron sights, well, this one has an optic on it. If you like something that has a lot of bullet velocity, well, you have something that helps your bullet velocity. You can't go wrong with this gun. And if you don't like slowed ADS, you don't need to use a 60-round mag. You can use the 45-round mag. So this is a weapon that you cannot go wrong with. It is 100% usable and within the meta when it comes to statistics. And all you have to do when you're using this is aim in, go to left on the D-pad to put this in the single fire, and now you're going to be bursting it just like this. And it's going to be very, very accurate, no recoil. And if you see, if I shoot this at the wall really quick, I'm not going to be doing anything to my controller right now, and I'm just pulling the trigger over and over and over again, and there is no recoil to it at all. So that's going to look like that when you were shooting. So all you have to do is worry about aiming and not even recoil control, and it's just very, very nice to shoot. Very accurate, and it has everything that you can ever ask for when it comes to big map, small map, whatever map you're using. This is probably the most reliable weapon in the game and definitely the most user-friendly in the game. It's not going to kill faster than the SOA Subverter or the Ram up close, but it's going to be overall very, very usable when it comes to hitting your shots, and that's always what's going to matter most. So here's that loadout again. I don't recommend building this any other way just because, again, there's nothing with recoil, so I like the Spirit Fire suppressor, and just I think this is the best possible loadout you can use. If you don't like this optic, you can definitely use the 2.5 scope instead just to have a little bit more of a precision zoom. Still a really accurate weapon where you can get away with that. But overall, love this gun. Let's move on to the next. And this next weapon is not going to lie, I don't love this weapon. If you see from the stats, it doesn't have the strongest time to kill. It definitely holds its range at the 60 meter plus range where it's still going to be a pretty decent gun at the longer ranges. It is very, very accurate, but with this weapon specifically, I don't really like the iron sights on it too much. And then on top of that, it just feels like it doesn't hit super hard from any range. It's definitely in the usable statistic area for just the gun in general. But, you know, certain weapons like the Ram or that SVA, it definitely has a really good time to kill up close, and then some of the drop-offs can be brutal. But this gun's just kind of like mid throughout the whole way, and then it holds some of its range at the really far, just like the really far ranges, and those kind of ranges are just going to be a little bit more, I guess, not as routine, especially for most of you guys watching this if you're just kind of playing COD casually. So the only thing I do like about this gun is that it is very, very, very accurate. And what I mean by that is when you're shooting this weapon, just in general, it has basically no recoil at all. I was barely controlling it right there, and if I shoot it at the wall and you just let it go, you're going to see it just kind of go straight up and then a little bit to the left. You're not going to be able to see the bullet trail on that wall, but you're just going to see how it went straight up to the left. So all you have to do is just pull slightly down and a little bit to the right, and it's going to be a very, very accurate weapon. So as I was stating before, if you need something that you're just going to be able to hit your shots with and you need accuracy over anything else, because at the end of the day, all of these statistics all just come down to actually being able to hit your shots as well too. So there is going to be some personal preference when it comes to all these loadouts, and that's why I'm giving you so many different ones, is because, you know, maybe the SOA Subverter or the Ram 7, which are the two stronger weapons, aren't going to be something that you're able to hit your shots with. And then if you can't obviously land your shots, you're going to have to try something else, right? Because then you're not going to be killing as fast if you're missing. So a gun like the Bruen might be something that is, you know, kind of right for you if you need something really accurate. This is a good way to build it. You can also throw the Spirit Fire on it because this is more of a very accurate weapon. And if you do like the iron sights, you can take off this optic. I would recommend something like this rear grip right here, and that's just going to help the recoil too. It's not going to hit the hardest. I don't love these iron sights because of the visual shake and stuff, but still going to be a very accurate weapon and something that you're going to be able to use too. So there's a couple ways to build this. Personally, I like the build that I showed you at first, but let's move on to the next one. And that next weapon is going to be something that I actually do enjoy the iron sights on. It's going to be the MTZ 556. Now, I've built this many different ways. This is my #1 way right here. This gun, again, is in the usable meta. It is a very valuable option, a very accurate option with not the most recoil. If you're someone that can use iron sights and that doesn't bother you as much, personally, I do enjoy these iron sights as well. I would build it like this because that stock is just going to help you out with that extra attachment for recoil and all that stuff. And when you can see that when you aim it in and you shoot, it's going to be a very, very accurate weapon, a very fun weapon to use, and overall something that's just weirdly satisfying about when you beam someone with this weapon. So you can use this gun. I think you're going to enjoy it a lot, but if you want a different build on it, here it is. You can just take off that stock, use the glassless optic, and of course, if you want to use something when it comes to the Spirit Fire, you can also very easily use the Spirit Fire on this too. It's still going to be very, very accurate. And those three ways you can build it. You can either do the iron sight build that I had at first. You could take off the stock and throw the optic on it, and then you can actually take off the compensator and throw the suppressor on it too. This gun is definitely very, very flexible when it comes to how you build it. I think there's going to be a way that you can build it for yourself either way. Those three are the way I recommend it. Try those out, see if you like it, and if you don't like it, change things up slightly and just see what works for you. Overall, though, the MTZ 556 is a very fun and satisfying weapon. Now let's move on to some honorable mentions. And before we get to those honorable mentions, let me actually just show you the 10th gun, in my opinion, that's in the top 10. Now, again, once you start getting to this level, this isn't the 10th best gun. I didn't really go in order, as you guys noticed. I was just going through all the loadouts that I just have that I can just kind of talk about for you guys. The MTZ 762. This thing did just recently get nerfed in the 2.5 Reloaded update. It's still pretty good. Now, this is a weapon that holds its range when it comes to the bigger map, but it only does have a 30-round magazine. This gun is usable. I don't actually like it. I just used it probably a little bit too much. But a lot of people in Fortune's Keep ranked and just in general on Fortune's Keep are still using this gun because it's still statistically pretty good and it's going to get the job done. And obviously, when you use a gun so much, you kind of get really used to that recoil control and you can just really use it. So this is a gun that you can still use. I wouldn't say this is out of the meta yet, but there's multiple ways you can build this gun. You can build it like this. You can build it like this, which is just going to be the suppressor build, or this, and it's just going to be the high ground ammunition. So you can do the stock with iron sights. You can do the high grain ammunition with the iron sights just for that bullet velocity and damage range. All those four builds are going to be probably the best builds that you can possibly have when it comes to using the MTZ 762. This one's a little stale for me right now. I'm not going to lie, but it is 100% still up there with some of these weapons. So if you haven't used this somehow, give it a try. Or again, if you just thought that this gun was completely out of the meta, you could definitely still use it, even with the stats you could see. But overall, not my favorite weapon. I'm not going to lie to you guys, but it's still there. So I'm never going to leave it out just because I don't enjoy it personally too much myself. Now, let's show you some honorable mentions. #1 is going to be the XRK Stalker. I'm not going to talk too much about this weapon. They just buffed the ADS of the snipers, so this gun just got a little bit better. This gun is very fun because you can definitely still get a one-shot headshot all the way up to, I think, about 75 meters right now, which is still pretty far. Fortune's Keep sniping. This is the gun to use. Very, very fun weapon. Overall, really insane bullet velocity too. If you look at this right now, the bullet velocity is 1300. That is actually almost basically hit scan to a degree for a lot of those ranges. So it's a gun that is a very easy to hit your snipes. So if you're not hitting your snipes a lot and you're using the cat, try this. It's just a little bit easier. You don't have to lead as much. It's just a little bit more closer to that hit scan level when it comes to sniping. And now if you watch my stream, you guys know that I think I have almost 1,000 kills. I'm getting close to the 1,000 kill mark with this cat specifically. This is my favorite sniper. I love this sniper. It can one-shot headshot at all ranges. That's why I like it. It does have a little bit more of a bullet lead, less bullet velocity, and it is a little bit slow and clunkier, but just this is old reliable to me. This is so fun. I know most people still use that stalker. This is 100% in the meta when it comes to long ranges, especially on that big map. This is the build that I always use every day. Still going to be in there. I know this is not a primary rifle, those two guns that I just showed you, but they're still going to be 100% usable when it comes to long range meta. So definitely use this one. This is my #1 gun right now. I love this gun. I love these attachments, and I don't think I would change them for anything. Now, this next gun and the gun after this are going to be honorable mentions because they're 100% in the meta. And I'm sure I'm missing a few. And if I am missing a few and you're still watching this, please drop a comment below of what you guys think is either a hidden meta, or just something that I missed in the statistics that just kills faster than all these guns and I'm just stupid, or just something that works for you. I would love to hear what you guys are rocking right now, just because I'm always down to listen to what you guys are using and just see if there's anything that I've missed. And of course, we can help each other get better, which is the whole point of this YouTube video. But this is the Bass B. The reason why it's an honorable mention, the time to kill on this thing is still really good. The statistics on this gun are still really good, but this gun specifically just has very, very unmanageable recoil in my opinion. I don't think it's very consistent anymore. I personally don't really like the recoil on this. And then on top of that, too, it's just something that's kind of slow and clunky. So not my favorite gun anymore. I've tried to kind of get this gun back into one of my favorites. I just can't seem to like it anymore. So with that being said, this is honorable mention. I don't think I would put this in the top, but still a very usable gun if you were just absolutely cracked or for some reason this recoil control doesn't bother you like it bothers me. And now let's move on to the last and final weapon. And here it is, the final weapon. I know I've made a YouTube video about this gun. I have made a short about this gun, and I really do like this gun on Fortune's Keep, specifically Fortune's Keep solos, because it only has a 42 round magazine. This gun is in the statistical meta. It does hit hard enough to get kills and actually be usable if you can hit your shots with it. It has very low recoil. It is an MW2 weapon, so it's kind of rare to see people use this gun anymore. But again, if you have this gun leveled up from the old game, which a lot of you guys might not have too much time on your hands to level up all these new guns, this is something that you can kind of just go back to old reliable and just use it and just see how it goes. I like this gun a lot. I've used it a couple times on stream. I used it in a YouTube video. Definitely up there. I don't think it's top 10 because of the 42 round magazine. And again, it's not the strongest gun, but it is still up there where it comes to if you can hit your bullets with something this accurate, you can get the kills, and it can obviously be a good option. So I like this build. Again, honorable mention for this one, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. That was about 12 to 13, if I can count correctly, loadouts that can help you get a little bit better in Season 2.5 Reloaded. If I missed any again, make sure you drop a comment below, and as always, it's been your boy Crowder, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.